If we allowed commercial surrogacy, wouldn't that drive up the price of surrogacy, which is unavailable for a lot of families, and mean that it's a service that would only be available to the wealthy?
So the answer to that question is it depends, but I think the answer is no. If we allowed commercial surrogacy in Canada, I would expect it to be somewhat cheaper than for Canadians to travel to California in order to hire someone to be a surrogate, or to use the workaround where you go to the US, you get paid in the US, and then you have to travel back and forth in order for it to be legal. This making commercial surrogacy wouldn't make altruistic surrogacy illegal. So people who cannot afford commercial surrogacy can still try to find a loved one, like a sister, for example, who might be willing to carry a baby to term. So in every respect, it looks like it would make it slightly cheaper and so more accessible, and it wouldn't remove the option of altruistic surrogacy either.
Interesting. Okay, so Professor Busby, you've raised a concern that you have about families that come from outside of Canada to find a surrogate in Canada, because our country is somewhat a surrogacy destination. But this means that non-Canadians would be benefiting from Canada's taxpayer-funded healthcare system without having contributed to it. What's your view on this issue?
Well, first of all, I'll start by saying that Canada has become an international surrogacy destination. This was not intended. It's a complete surprise, but there's a number of factors that come together to create this synergy. So that's kind of a surprise. And one of the factors, of course, is that all of the prenatal and delivery expenses of the surrogate mother are covered under Canada's healthcare plan, and the any postnatal care of the child is also covered by Canada's healthcare plan. And as well, surrogate mothers are entitled for employment insurance benefits. So there's significant financial benefits to having a Canadian surrogate.
So it's actually
Should
cheaper to do it here for families looking.
Oh, way cheaper, because you don't, the medical costs are all covered, and there's compensation for maternity leave for the surrogate mother. Now, should non-Canadians be able to benefit in this way? It seems to me there's something kind of wrong with Canada paying for all of these expenses, but I'm not sure how we would get around that problem.
Although,
Interesting. Peter, did you want
if I
to
may,
address that? Yeah, sure.
yeah, because we do have a Canadian too, right? The baby, as
Yeah.
Andre suggested, I mean, the baby's Canadian. Any baby born in Canada is a Canadian baby, and the expenses that the woman incurs in the process of childbirth, that benefits the baby, right? I mean, there are American companies that hire Canadians to chop down trees in British Columbia or elsewhere, and they benefit in a way. If their employee is injured, then the employee who is a Canadian gets to use Canada's healthcare system. This is no different.
Okay, Mr. Schutten, I want to turn to you. Your organization has focused a lot on situations where surrogacy has gone wrong. But there's a good deal of research that shows that surrogacy works for many people, and the disputes are actually quite infrequent. So is it worth denying families access to surrogacy in order to prevent unlikely scenarios of things going wrong? And can't some of these disputes be headed off in advance by well-drafted surrogacy agreements?
Mm. So again, I mean, fundamentally, I think there's a problem that we can't get around, and that's what surrogacy does to the preborn child and that child once they're born and enter into the world. But I think that the problems are so severe, and that there are alternatives available that would address the same concern, particularly adoption of a child in need of stable homes. That with those two policy options available to us, I think that there's no need to open the door to commercial surrogacy. Again, I'm speaking as an adoptive father as well. The Children's Aid Societies across this country have a bit of a crisis on their hands with the amount of children that are in foster care right now looking for stable homes. I know of all kinds of couples that have made use of that means to bless a child, to be a stable source of support for a child in those kinds of circumstances. That should be the way our public policy is encouraging people to go.